Building bridges, embracing diversity in the diaspora. Now, this room gives me a picture of a bridge. A bridge is a connector. It connects people, their journeys, their experiences, and their stories. Look around this room. We've got people, experiences, journeys, and story. A bridge is also a diverse place. But how do you know a bridge is diverse? Maybe the cloth that we wear, our names, the way our hair is. Around here as well, this room is also diverse. But how about if I tell you that there's diversity that does not meet the eye? There are layers and layers of stories that you cannot see, I cannot see, and that is also diversity. My name is Stella Ihenacho, and I am an African immigrant. I left the shores of my home country at 22 years old. For you to understand the depth of that statement is for you to know that I'm the first of 5 children. You see, when I told my mom that I got a scholarship to go to the UK for my master's, she laughed. She thought really that I was lying, because how can anything good come out of 16 Bajulaye Road, Shomolu, Lagos? Now, that is my address back home in Nigeria. You know, but one thing that she sure did was she invested in our education, even if hopes and dreams were really an elusive luxury for us. I remember days where I would sit down in the stool in our makeshift living room, and I would stare out of this mosquito net window. And by the way, the mosquito net was not catching no mosquitoes, but dust. And I would be staring out through the holes, tiny holes, because it was almost like a doorway to some dream. And I'll be looking at the people walking around, the strangers, the malams pushing their water, the boys and the girls selling sweets and candy. And I used to wonder, did they dream? Like, did they have the audacity to dream? Because sometimes I didn't. And so on the day I went to pick up my visa, sitting down in the bus full of strangers, holding on to that passport for dear life, all of a sudden, something as small as a UK visa began to breathe something out of nothing. All of a sudden, I began to dream. All of a sudden, something came out of nothing. By the way, maybe I didn't mention, but I'm also the Ada. Ada in Nigeria is the term for first girl child from my tribe, Igbo tribe. So I'm the Ada. I'm the first of 5 children. So on the day that I was carrying my luggage, leaving my home in Lagos, Nigeria, I knew that I wasn't just carrying the weight of my luggage. I was carrying the weight of my family. I was carrying the weight of my community. I was carrying the weight of those who had come before I became. I was carrying those who dared to dream and those who were dreaming through my dream. What a heavy responsibility for a 22-year-old. And then, the first leg of my immigrant journey started in the United Kingdom. I mean, the first day in London, I could not hear what they were saying. They could not hear what I was saying. I was like, what in the world is going on? Hey, how you doing, bloke? Am I going to see you later? You know, I was like, what? It wasn't working. Cultural misunderstanding. And yet, still trying to navigate my space in this new land. Even after I got my MBA, my career journey was just all over the place, from joblessness to working in retail to counting people house to house as a census surveyor, you know, going through so much at that point in time. But then my first official job, I would say, was when I knew that I didn't get that job because of my educational prowess or my work experience, but because of how persuasive I was. I remember the man asking me, why should I hire you? And I was like, sir, it's a matter of life and death at this point in time. And that's how I got the job. Yes. And, you know, again, my community reminded me why I was there. It wasn't just for me. It was for those who were dreaming through my dream. And I stayed in the UK for as long as I could stay until love brought me to the United States of America. And when I came to the US with my 2 degree, and by that time, really great wealth of experience, I was seeing the same pattern play out again. I was overqualified, underqualified. Which one was it? A paradox. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. And you know what? I had a growing family, and so I signed up myself to be an Uber driver. Yes, I did. And so the day when a recruiter called me and said, well, ma'am, we want to interview you, but when I'm talking to you, it sounds like you're very overqualified. Do you want to wait for the next role that will be the overqualified one so that you can apply? I was like, absolutely not. I am going for this one. I don't mind starting from scratch. You see, immigrants, starting from scratch is a common theme for us. But I want to share some statistics with you. Ballard Brief said that they interviewed about 4,000 skilled immigrants, and it was seen that 37% of us, our employers, don't recognize our foreign work experience. About 40% of us, our employers don't recognize our educational experience. We have over 293,000 skilled immigrants in the United States that have health background and medical background, but they're not practicing. We have over 400,000 immigrants in California who have bachelor's degrees, but they're underemployed. And you wonder why. Immigrants go through such an emotional and psychological journey where our identity is always assessed, reassessed, validated. But nobody thinks about the continuous compounded effects it has on our mental being. And so from our pain point and from our experiences, my husband and I founded a school. And you know what? We said we're going to create a workforce development where we can teach professionals who are looking to acquire high-in-demand skills while also leveraging their educational and just economic experiences. And most of our students have been immigrants. Now, they started from scratch. But as soon as they encounter a system that has an infrastructure, that has community, we began to see them literally thrive within our own very eyes. I also volunteer for a nonprofit, and recently we had the Professional Summit for African Immigrants. And we had this panel of outstanding African immigrants in the diaspora working in amazing places here. But you know what was so funny about that panel? About 85% of them had worked in the kitchen. I'll give you more stories. One of them came with a bachelor's degree, but she started as a helper. She started as a cleaner, but now she works in tech. Another one came in with her doctorate. She worked in the kitchen, but now she's helping young girls learn how to code. Another one came with his bachelor's. He started flipping burger, but now he's a real estate investor. Another one came with his bachelor's, so he was carrying weights from trolley to trolley, but now he's a director. And then you wonder, why is starting from scratch such a recurring theme? I have no problem that we have to start from somewhere, but I want to challenge the status quo. Why does it have to be from scratch? Because again, there is an effect it has on our mindset. And that's why I want to speak to my fellow immigrants here today. Because I'm so sure that when we were coming from our home country, we were told that we were coming to the land flowing with milk and honey. And then we came, and our reality is not matching that perception. We have to fight unseen and seen battles. And so that is why when I was told that, hey, do you want to wait for the other role to come up so that you can apply? And I said, absolutely not. But then when I went into that role, and within a couple of weeks I got promoted, I was not surprised, because that's what happens when you give opportunity to those who can do exactly what they've been doing before. So I was not surprised. But something surprised me, though, from my own experience then and other experiences of people that I've had encounter with. The audacious immigrant, the resilient immigrant began to lose their voices. All of a sudden, I was afraid to raise up my hand because I don't know if they can hear my accent or if I'll come out as rude. I was afraid to take ownership of my work because I didn't want to come off as proud. I was afraid to say yes to more work because I didn't want to come off as too knowing. I was afraid to leave work at 5 p.m. because I didn't want to come off as not interested at this work because they did this Nigerian girl a favor by giving her a job, right? But did they really do me a favor because I have the education and experience? But that's why I came up with the raised hand framework for my fellow immigrants. Because honestly, you are here. Just because you were not born here doesn't mean you cannot occupy space right here. Just because you flew across the sea doesn't mean you cannot walk on land and step into the role and the opportunities that are here for you. And so the raised hand framework is for my fellow immigrants who's probably losing their voice while trying to find their space in this land. And R literally stands for raise your hand. You might be lost in the crowd, but guess what? You cannot lose the raised hand. So R stands for raise your hand. A stands for acting intentionally by doing excellently whatever your hand finds to do. I stands for yes, inspire growth by saying yes. Say yes to more work. S stands for stop pressing the mute button. Our voices matter. And E stands for expanding our mindset. Now, we cannot ask to be counted if we are discounting ourselves. We cannot ask to be seen if we are walking in the shadows. We cannot ask for our voices to be heard if we are pressing the mute button. So this is my challenge to every immigrant listening to me, every African immigrant listening to me right now, is that if we're asking for doors to be open, it requires us to step through those doors. If we're asking for gates to be open, it requires us to step through those gates. If we're asking for hearts to be open, it requires authenticity and vulnerability. And so my challenge for you is step into those doors with your stars, with your scars, and with your shine. Now, to those who have the opportunities of opening doors and opening hearts, my ask for you is, what does it lead to if we build walls instead of bridges? What does it lead to if we put obstacles in the way instead of opportunities? We are threads, not threats. We are threads that are adding to the diversity of the world that we already live in. Another statistics for you. Conferry, a consulting firm, said that diverse teams make better decisions 87% of the time, and 70% of the time they're able to go into new markets. Why? Because that room is full of diverse thoughts, different opinions, and different experiences, and they're able to be creative and innovative. People forget that when we thrive, our community thrives, the world thrives, the state we're in thrives. And so I want to give practical strategies as well that you can literally use right now to make your environment more inclusive. Because I have a question for you. Take a moment to think about this. How inclusive is the community within your circle of influence? And so, strategies. The first one I want to start with right here is competence training, intercultural competence training. Let us know you, you know us. This breaks stereotypes and breaks assumptions. Because for us to truly create an inclusive space, we need to understand our journeys and our experiences, our similarities, and be okay with our differences. Data-driven decisions is enough of putting together events. We are not gathering for gathering's sake. How are we measuring the impact of our gathering? And without data, what kind of diversity policies are we putting together? Now, inclusive hiring practices. If you are a HR or in education or an organization, how inclusive is your hiring practice? Are those jobs accessible to those who need it? How are you ensuring that you're opening doors to more? Mentorship programs. This is a two-way street. We learn from you, you learn from us. We pull one another up. Imagine pairing people to established professionals in their careers. How expansive can our world truly be? And I can keep going on and on and on and on here. But I want to end here by saying this. You do have a hope and a future. I'm standing here with hope and future in my heart. Hope knowing fully well that diversity will not just be a buzzword. It will be a reality. And determination in my heart knowing fully well that we're going to build more bridges and not build walls. We're going to build more tables and not build gates. We're going to create more opportunities and not put in place obstacles. That is the hope and determination that I do have in my heart. And my charge and my challenge and my ask of you today is, think about how you can truly support this mission, how you can contribute to this mission, how you can be an ally, a sponsor, a friend to someone who you're going to meet on that bridge. You might not know where they're coming from, but guess what? Their destination is as valid as your destination. Now, you might meet us being the Uber driver today, or you might meet us being the doctor on call tomorrow. You might meet us working in the grocery store today. You might meet us being the owner of a grocery chain of stores. It doesn't matter where you meet us. But one thing for sure is that we're on this bridge together. And always remember that when one thrives, we all thrive together. Thank you.